I'm back to talk about lymphedema sleeves today. I realized that I mentioned my lymphedema sleeve and showed it in my last video very briefly without really going into what it is and why I have one. And I wouldn't have one if my physical therapist hadn't mentioned it to me, and I wouldn't have a physical therapist if someone in my support group hadn't suggested that I get one. So I do suggest that you get a physical therapist whether you feel like you need one or not, because I've gained so much from having mine. Even though I had a really smooth mastectomy experience, I've gained so much knowledge from my physical therapist, and I'm going to her still after 4.5 months after my surgery. So I really recommend that you go to someone that knows about these things and can help you sort through them. So what is a lymphedema sleeve? It is a compression garment that helps your lymph nodes to kind of stay supported in times of stress. So when we're flying in an airplane, we have a lot of pressure that our body experiences. If you think about your little travel shampoo bottle and how sometimes it just pops open and shampoo spills all over your travel bag, that's the indication of that pressure. A lot of things like hard plastic can't stand pressure. They can't expand and contract. Well, our arms are expanding and contracting too. We may not see it, but they tend to want to swell in situations like long flights especially. Shorter flights, not so much. But in any flight situation, you want to protect your lymph nodes, which are still recovering very slowly from the trauma of having one or two or more of their brothers or sisters removed from their pack. So I think of it as just a little support that I can do to keep myself from getting lymphedema. And if you've had any lymph nodes out at all, you do need a lymphedema sleeve. You just need a light compression one if you don't have any lymphedema issues, if you have no swelling in your arm, like I have no swelling in mine. I've never had any lymphedema or swelling in my arm. But even if you don't have swelling, you can really benefit from using a lymphedema sleeve, especially when you're flying in an airplane. So I have two. My insurance covers two, and this is one of them. It's just the length of your wrist to your shoulder, and it's quite stretchy. It's not uncomfortable to wear, but it is a little bit hard to put on. This is specifically fitted to me. So I went to my prosthetic shop and I ordered this through the mail through them, and so it came a couple weeks after I ordered it. And what they do is they measure around your wrist and around your upper arm just to make sure that you're getting exactly the right size. I have a really tiny wrist. I can fit my fingers around my wrist. So I needed a very small width in terms of how wide it is around in order for it to be effective on me. And I've only used this once when I flew. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it in my bag the first flight that I took from home to my destination. I thought that I had forgotten to put it in my bag because I couldn't find it anywhere in my bag. It is really, really small when it is off. And I'll show you kind of how thin it is when you fold it up. So I had it folded in 4, and it is just that thin. So pretty easy to lose in your bag. So I've decided from now on I'm going to keep it in this big puffy fabric bag that I got in Guatemala. And it's a bag that's way too big for it, but I'm keeping it in here just so that I don't lose it again, so that I can locate it really quickly when I need to. So my sleeve is from a brand called Juzo, Juzo. I think it's probably the most well-known brand. I'm going to link below to my favorite physical therapist that specializes in lymphedema, because she has a really good video that kind of reviews all of the different brands of sleeves, and she has a pretty good review for Juzo. And she'll also talk a little bit about if you need a higher intensity of compression, like a moderate or high intensity compression. If you have lymphedema, that would be a helpful video to watch, because that's definitely not been my experience and I can't speak to that. Anyway, this Juzo brand had I would say about 30 or 40 different designs like this, but they also have a lot of skin tones as well as just solid colors like purple and red and black. I got 2 just colorful designs because I really like them, and I like to express myself with color and creativity. So hopefully I won't regret having these kind of ones that stand out pretty strongly in public. In my insurance policy, I get 2 new sleeves every year, and there's a good reason for that. It's not a wasteful policy. The reason is that people fluctuate a lot in their weight and in their arm size. So when you gain 10 or more pounds, your arm size goes up too. And so you don't want to use the same lymphedema sleeve long term because your arm might be a different size than it was a couple of years ago. Also, the elasticity of these can break down a little bit, and so they may not be as effective long term as they were when you first got them. Speaking of insurance, these are a little bit tricky with insurance. At least I found that not all of the types of sleeves were covered by my insurance. So there are some sleeves that include like a kind of a glove on the end that is like a fingerless glove that comes with the sleeve. Like you can either get a separate glove or the glove itself is attached to the sleeve. And those were not covered by my insurance. So if you are going online and hoping to be reimbursed by your insurance, I would definitely check with your insurance provider first to make sure that you understand what the restrictions are so that you're not having to pay for these yourself in the end. So what I learned on my recent flight, the first flight that I used these on, is that I was very forgetful in reminding myself to put it on. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is setting an alarm on my phone to go off at the time of the flight. And that way, if I don't remember to put it on while I'm waiting in line at check-in, then I can at least get it on by the time I'm in the air. And I also would like to keep it on after. So what I did, the one time that I did use it so far, is that I just kept it on until I got home and then took it off. So I let myself kind of wind down from the compression and the pressure that you experience in the plane. So I wasn't just kind of stripping it off right away as soon as I got out of the plane. I just let it stay on for a little while, and I think that's a good practice too. So again, I'm not a professional when it comes to lymphedema. I'm a nutritionist, so I'm a professional when it comes to food. So I am putting this on my personal channel and not speaking about the particularities of it on purpose, because I'm going to point you to that physical therapist that I go to when I have questions about these kinds of things. So look for her video below. She's amazing. She has all kinds of really, really good physical therapy exercises also for post-mastectomy patients. So I think you'll really like her. I've actually mentioned her in other videos as well. But look for that link below and you can learn all about compression sleeves from a professional. I'm just here to give my little 2 cents as someone who practically has tried to make this a part of my travel habits and has failed. So just a few tips today for how to make this work. And by the way, in case no one has told you, you also should not have your blood pressure taken on the side that you had your lymph nodes removed or any blood draws on that side. When I went in for my recent endoscopy appointment, they actually put this bracelet on my wrist saying that everyone should stay away from that arm, basically. And so I was thinking, I saved this so that I could kind of make it into my own personal bracelet and give myself the peace of mind of wearing this myself so that I don't have to remind everyone that I'm not allowed to have blood pressure or blood draws on my left side when I'm in a medical setting. Now, I'll probably forget this as well, but at least it's something that I have if I need it. So there's another little tip too. And hopefully someone has told you that your lymph nodes eventually will recover and maybe even regrow the ones that are missing, and you'll be less prone to lymphedema. But these are measures that we can take just to avoid getting lymphedema in the first place, especially for the first 5 or so years after your surgery when your lymph nodes are vulnerable and they just need a little bit extra TLC. So that's it for today. Really quick and simple video about my lymphedema sleeve. Hopefully it helps you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.